Hello, my wonderful, 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 wonderful friends. Welcome back to r/IDOWorkHereLady, where people who work at places are mistaken as not, and the stories are super duper entertaining. Once again, I've had too much coffee, so I'm a little bit excited. Guys, so today's episode, I'm diving into my email inbox. And these stories come from lovely subscribers, so thank you very much. I love you. Guys, in today's episode, you'll hear 3 stories. The first, OP gets mistaken as a thief when she's actually a supervisor. The second story is a guy who needs car parts but refuses to be helped by a woman. And we'll finish up with OP questioning if the person giving him his diagnosis is actually a doctor. These stories are super fantabulous. Is that even a word? I don't know. I hope you stay for the stories today, and do hit that subscribe button for future stories. Let's get into it. This one's titled, Security, This Kid is Trying to Steal. I worked in an office doing a lot of paperwork and processing of sales orders. I had a lot of experience in offices, and at my new workplace, I had been there for a few years and been promoted to the team lead, supervisor, if you will. I oversaw a group of individuals that put in orders, processed them, ensured that they were fulfilled, and then invoiced them out. There were things in between as well that we did, but I won't get into it. At the time of this story, I was in my late 20s, and although I'm young looking, people often told me they enjoyed working with me, and I helped make their work life easier. Recently, one of my employees moved on from my team and ended up in another department, so we had to hire someone new. I was away on holidays when the hiring process began, so the department manager, Rhonda, went through all the interviews and decided on a lady, Deborah, who had a lot of experience and was in her mid-40s. Honestly, the job isn't difficult. It's mostly data entry and needing to pay attention to detail. Deborah started work about a week before I returned from my vacation, so she really didn't get the chance to meet me. Upon my return one early Monday morning, I was in my office and turned on the computer. I was going through my drawers to look for something when I heard footsteps behind me. At the time, I didn't know who this lady was, but you can deduce it was Deborah. Deborah entered loudly and said, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?" I looked up, startled, and before I could say anything, Deborah shrieked at me and said, "Are you trying to steal the computer? Get out before I call security." I began to say, "It's all right, I work here, and you must be..." She interrupted and said, "Yeah, okay, you work here," she scoffed. She rolled her eyes back so far into her head that I thought they would come out of her nose. She then said, "Last warning, leave now or I'll get security to make you leave." Not wanting to cause any more trouble, I stood up and grabbed my purse from under the desk, hoping to show her my ID. Deborah quickly stomped into the office and snatched my purse from my hands before I could reach in to grab my wallet. I yelled, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Nice try. You're not stealing this." Our raised voices finally drew the attention of our manager, Rhonda, who came peeking around the corner and said, "What's going on here?" Deborah pointed at me accusingly with a bony, wrinkly finger and practically shouted, "She's trying to steal things from us." Rhonda laughed and said, "No, Deborah, that's Kim. You know, the one that's been on vacation." I think most people at this point would have looked shocked, then extremely apologetic. Not Deborah. She had this weird, disgusted look on her face, scanned me up and down and said, "This kid works here? This is Kim, the department supervisor?" I locked eyes on her, and I confidently confirmed, "Yes, I'm Kim, your supervisor." Deborah took a moment to process, then shrieked, "Are you kidding me? There's no way a kid like you is going to be my boss." I asked, "Are you going to have a problem reporting to me? Someone who's your superior but just so happens to be younger than you?" "Absolutely. There's no way someone as young as you is going to be in charge of me," Deborah screeched. I'll never forget how shrill her voice is and how red she turned. Rhonda interrupted and said, "Well then, it seems to me that this is not going to work out, especially since there's a problem with respect. Let's go get your things." Cue the silent awkwardness that took place. Deborah looked like she was going to flip her lid. What could have been just a simple misunderstanding just snowballed to her losing her job. She tried to argue, but Rhonda wouldn't have it and gestured towards Deborah's desk. As they walked away, Rhonda signaled me to call security, so I did, and let them know what was going on, and they shortly escorted Deborah off the property. That's probably the only time I've ever been mistaken that horribly for a young thief, and I'm so glad I dodged a bullet with this lady. I'll never understand people who think they're superior based on age and seniority. It doesn't work like that. Guys, if you've been following me for a while now, you'll know that I work in the trades. I'm an under 30-year-old supervisor at my shop, and a lot of guys that we meet on sites or start with our company do not respect me based on my age. So I've worked with a few guys in the past that are like 50, 60-year-olds that don't follow simple tasks that I give them, only because they think they know better than me, or they don't want to follow orders from someone that's half their age. This story is titled, Get Me Your Male Manager. I work in the parts department of a big car dealership, and have been for a few years now. I've come across my fair share of stupid customers who just can't use their brain for common sense. For example, a customer wants a white paint pen. I ask them to give me the VIN of their vehicle, so I can figure out which white paint pen they'll need, and they'll say, just white. And, unfortunately, I have to tell them that we have 10 different whites, which ensues a bit of back and forth argument because they think, it's white. How hard is that? Now, for context, I'm a 25-year-old female. There's a bit of a stereotype against females in a man's world when it comes to cars, especially with the older generation, I find. There's this one auto body manager that will call and always asks for one of my male coworkers, even though I'm the only one that deals with wholesale accounts, which includes this auto body shop. So whenever he calls, myself and any of the other parts advisors will put him on hold for like 15 minutes and force him to talk to me. Now, on with the story. I worked the parts back desk, but was on break one day and eating my lunch in the cafeteria. I have a dealership jacket that has the company logo on it and my name tag that clearly says, Amy, Parts Assistant Manager, on my chest. I saw that my coworker Kyle was talking to an older male gentleman. He's a newer employee, and today was one of the first times he was covering the front on his own. He's had no issues in the past, but I could see he was getting flustered. When he made eye contact with me, he waved at me for help. I didn't mind. I went over to assist. The older gentleman, we'll call him Rick for storytelling purposes, was looking for some kind of cover for his sedan, but could not explain exactly what it was that he was looking for. Rick looked clearly agitated that Kyle couldn't read his mind, and was saying stuff like, it's a cover in the engine area, you know? It's right there when you open it. It's easy. Kyle had pulled up a picture of the engine bay of the same model sedan, asking him to point it out. But Rick kept saying that this wasn't how his car looked like, that it shouldn't be so difficult. So I stepped in. I asked, do you have your vehicle VIN so we can pull up the proper information? Rick asked gruffly, who are you? I kept my customer service smile on and said, I'm Amy. Kyle's pretty new here, so hopefully I can help. If we can get your VIN, I can possibly get a better idea of what you're looking for, sir. Rick looked at me in disbelief and said, you work here? Yes, I do. I don't need your help. This is a man's job. I just need a cover for the thing in my engine. Irked at his sexist quip, I tried to ignore it. This kind of stuff happens, and I asked, well, what's the cover for? Is it an engine cover, a cap for fluid or something? It's a cover. Why is it so difficult for you guys to understand? It's a cover. I need a cover for one of the things in the engine. At this point, Rick's voice had raised and had caught the attention of the employees and customers alike. You could see everyone glancing over. I said, sir, there's many different covers. I need to know the specifics so I don't give you the wrong item. Can we go to your vehicle and we can take a look at exactly what you need? Rick's face was red with frustration at this point, and he said, my car's at home because I need the cover before I can drive it. This is ridiculous. Where's your manager? Oh, the dreaded where's your manager question. Unfortunately for Rick, my manager was out for meetings for the day. Fortunately for me, this meant that I, the assistant manager, was the only person he could deal with, and I was getting ready to fight back. I'm the acting manager today, actually. Rick glared at me with disdain and shouted, no, there's no way a woman is the manager of this. Get me a man. We do have a policy at work where if a customer becomes belligerent, we can ask them to leave. But I didn't get to have that chance that day because another customer, a male who was waiting next in line, came rampaging up and destroyed Rick in all his glory. I'll call this savior Bruce. Bruce said, "Hey, what the hell is your problem? They're trying to help you, and you're just giving them crap for anything they do." Rick yelled back, "These idiots can't figure out what I want. I need a real man that runs the place." Bruce barked, "That's because you're too much of a dumbass to give them enough information to know what you want. How the hell are they going to figure out what you want if you're too stupid to tell them? All you're repeating is that it's a cover. I shouldn't have to over-explain myself. This is their job, and they obviously can't do it because a woman is running the department." Bruce then said, "Listen, pal, her not understanding you is not because she's a female. It's because you're a dumbass." It went on for a little bit between them, while Kyle and I stood at the counter watching this heated exchange. Both of them inching closer and closer to one another, with salespeople, customers, financial advisors, service techs, just peeking around the corner to watch this drama unfold. Rick eventually threw his arms up in defeat, shouting, "This is stupid, I'm never coming back here," and he took off. It was a bit of an awkward moment after when Bruce turned around, faced us, and put on a huge smile on his face and asked us if we were okay. He said how he couldn't handle ignorant people and was not okay with how the old man was treating us, especially when we were just trying to be helpful. We thanked Bruce a lot, said he really didn't have to defend us like that, and gave him a little bit of a discount for the oil he bought. The thing that sucks though, is that we never found out what cover Rick wanted, and we never saw him again. I have friends that work in the service and parts departments of car dealerships, and they definitely tell me something like this happens on a daily basis. People would come in and not know what the heck they want for their car, and it's really, really frustrating. I'm also curious what the heck that cover thing that Rick wanted was. I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never, ever know. This next story is titled, "Can I Talk to the Doctor?" So this story is a little different, because it was me mistaking the identity and job of someone else. A few years back, I got really sick. I was sneezing like mad, my eyes were itchy, and I had a very painful sore throat. I was coughing lots, but my throat felt swollen and dry and was very raw. My voice started to go raspy too, and it hurt even to swallow water. After a couple of days, it wasn't going away, so my girlfriend eventually convinced me to go see a doctor at the walk-in clinic. We had Googled my symptoms, and I was convinced that I had allergies or something, and that it'll go away, but my girlfriend thought it was strep throat, and was adamant that I go get meds before I pass it around. Okay, fine. As usual, I had to wait in the waiting room forever. Then when they put me into a room, I waited forever too. A nurse had to come in to take my blood pressure and temperature at one point. Then not too long later, a second nurse came in to take it again, because the info that was put into the system didn't save. Then a third nurse came in and started to take my blood pressure again because their stupid system lost it again. He grumbled a bit, but struck up a conversation with me at the same time. "Don't know what's going on with our computers today. I'm gonna write this down on paper this time and log it." "Sorry about that," he said. "Are you not feeling well today?" "No," I rasped. "My throat is killing me. I think it's allergies, but my girlfriend thinks it's strep throat." "Well, your voice doesn't sound very good. Why do you think it's allergies?" "Well, this happens to me every year, and it usually goes away after a while." The nurse just finished taking my blood pressure, wrote down some notes, and asked me what kind of symptoms I had. I told her my throat was raw, felt swollen, and it hurt to swallow anything. I was also sneezing a lot sometimes, almost uncontrollably. The nurse grabbed his phone and started typing all my symptoms into it, which I thought was kind of weird. Then he took a tongue depressor and asked to look inside my mouth. He then said, "Well, I'm certain you have strep throat on top of your allergies. Some medication to help with the strep." I said, "Oh, okay, how long do you think it'll take for the doctor to see me so he can write me a prescription?" I asked that awkwardly because I was trying not to be rude, but I didn't want this nurse to be diagnosing me. He looked at me funny and said, "I am the doctor. Who did you think I was?" I replied, "A nurse." The guy never introduced himself when he came in. He was dressed in scrubs like the other nurses were, so I totally mistook him for a nurse. So yeah, that's my story. Okay, so I had a weird experience with a doctor once, and I told the guy the symptoms too. And then he pulled out his phone and did the same thing that OP described in the story. I thought he was Googling my symptoms. And then he even went to go ask a colleague if my symptoms matched his diagnosis. I had no idea what was going on there, but it was so weird, and it seemed so freaking sketchy. Guys, and that wraps up another episode of I Do Work Here Lady. Guys, if you didn't catch my last episode of I Do Work Here Lady, an owner of a law firm gets mistaken as a homeless man. Check it out if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.